We've lost so many good words. Old English could describe a whole host of human conditions that now we just can't. That joy you only get from listening to music, that feeling of fun from drinking with friends, or even that sense of dread you get when lying in bed at night. We had words for all of these, but now we've got nothing. So let's right this linguistic wrong right here, right now. Here are 10 Old English words I think we should bring back, rated and updated for the modern world. Make yourself nice and earthfast because it's time to head arselong into another Rob Words. So we're going way back with this one. Old English, capital O, capital E, is the language being spoken in England around 1,000 years ago, well before Shakespeare and even before Chaucer, who were technically speaking early modern English and Middle English. Old English is the language of Beowulf, the gloriously gritty tongue of the Anglo-Saxons. It tells us so much about what made those guys tick, and a lot of it is seriously relatable. We still need these words, so let's get cracking. Well, to begin with, dear friend, you hopefully have people in your life who you feel you could tell absolutely anything. People outside of your family in whom you have complete trust. Well, the Anglo-Saxons had them too, and they described that special variety of understanding between pals as WINETREOW, friend faith. Yes, in Anglo-Saxon times, wine was your friend, or at least wine. Wine was win. But in Old English, you could have a guthwinner, that was a war friend or a comrade. You could have a sundorwinner, that was a special friend. Or you could even have an unwinner, that's an unfriend, I suppose. And if a sundorwinner were to suddenly become an unwinner, the Anglo-Saxons would feel winner yamor, which was friend sorrow, the sadness that comes with losing or missing a mate. Friendship was a big deal back then, as it is now, but as well as friendship or freondshippe, Old English also had feondshippe, which was the opposite. Feond was your foe, your nemesis, your enemy. It's the origin of our word fiend. The treo at the end of WINETREOW becomes our word true. So we're talking about true friends here, and I think it is a truly excellent word that we should bring back, but perhaps in an updated form. I was thinking friend faith. What do you reckon? I love my mates. There's so much friend faith between us. I like it. Is it better than just saying trust? Yeah. 4 out of 5 for this one for bring back ability. I mentioned I'm rating all of these, right? Now, friends come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? And I reckon we've all probably got that one friend who occasionally fails to engage their brain before their mouth. Well, Old English had a word for those who don't think before they speak, and that word was HRÆDWYRDE. It means hasty with words. The word pops up in an Old English poem called The Wanderer, where the speaker is listing the qualities of a wise man, saying they should be ne too HRÆDWYRDE, not too hasty with words. There are some more wonderful words in this passage too. How about hatjord, meaning hot-hearted or angry? He also says that a wise man shall be geduldig, which is our old word for patient before the French gave us patient. German speakers, take note, it is remarkably similar to your word for patient, geduldig. Another great word in there is wanhødig, which means reckless, more literally mindless. It could also be littelhødig, which was small-minded, or you could be bealohødig, which was evil-minded, or even deophødig, which is deep thinking. Pretty much the opposite of the word that I'm suggesting we bring back. HRÆDWYRDE, or I'm going to say wordhasty. In Old English, by the way, you could also be an overspeaker, or someone who talks too much, or a two-speaker, someone who says one thing to one person, but another thing to another, someone who is two-faced. Although it could actually also just mean bilingual. Frankly, I think we could bring back just about any of these, but let's focus our efforts on HRÆDWYRDE, wordhasty, which I'm giving 4 out of 5, because goodness knows there are still plenty of word-hasty people around. Okay, next. Sherlock Holmes, Miss Marple, Monk, Scooby-Doo. What do all of these have in common? That's right, they're all RUNCRÄFTIG. That is to say, they're all good at solving mysteries. Why on earth don't we have a word for this? We love a good super sleuth. Well, luckily, we can just dredge up this one from Old English, RUNCRÄFTIG. The crafty bit is to be skilled at something, to be crafty, but not in the sense of sneaky necessarily. For example, a well-read Anglo-Saxon could be described as bókcrafty, book crafty or book smart. Another beautiful word that we should maybe bring back. Actually, a further one is ljóðkrafty. A ljóð is a poem or a song, so to be ljóðkrafty was to be good at writing poems. And if you were really good, you could even call yourself a HRÆDWYRDE, which was a poem write, a poet. How lovely is that? Anyway, I want us to bring back runcræftig, someone who is artful at solving mysteries. Rune meant mystery. But is it related to runes, you might be asking, as in the old alphabet we used before we shoehorned English to fit the Latin alphabet, a video in itself, probably. Well, maybe. The words in Old English for rune and mystery were written the same, and depending on the context, the word could also mean whisper or secret, I suppose quiet expression, a bit like the written word is, right? But the link is not definite. I suppose in itself it's a bit of a rune. Runes and mystery. Can it really get any more oldie worldy than that? I love this word, runcræftig. We don't have any equivalent to it now. So far as I'm concerned, it gets a 5 for bring back ability. Don't keep it a secret. Start using it today. Now, someone who's particularly crafty with words, we might describe as a wordsmith. Someone who's handy with heavy metals, we'd call a blacksmith. And you've probably heard of a goldsmith, a locksmith, or even an arrowsmith. But have you ever heard of a wondersmith? This is my next word, and you can perhaps guess what it means. It's a wondersmith, someone who makes wonderful things. How gorgeous is that? It's versatile too. A wonder can also be a miracle, so a wondersmith is also a miracle worker. Magical. Old English had many a smith, and not all as wonderful as the wondersmith. For example, in Anglo-Saxon times, you could be a wroughsmith. That's a crime smith or a criminal. You could also be a tjónsmith. That's a grief smith or an evil doer. But on the upside, you could also be a hlátursmith. That's a laughter smith or a comedian. We lost the H at the start of laughter, but you know, the word's still kind of recognizable, isn't it? But I think we could use another word for makers of the magnificent. So I'm recommending the wondrous wondersmith for reintroduction into the English language. And we barely need to even change it. I'm actually tempted to keep that cool Old English letter at the end, thorn, a letter for whose reinstatement I have regularly pushed, but until I succeed in that, let's pop a TH at the end. 3 out of 5 for wondersmith, because miracle worker is already doing a similar job in some contexts, all right. You know what the Anglo-Saxons would have doubtless seen as a miracle? The internet. But a time-travelling Ethelred or Athelwulf wouldn't need a wondersmith to help them stay safe online. They'd just need NordVPN. NordVPN puts up a kind of bordwall, a shield wall that protects you from all manner of online threats. With a single click, you can disguise your location and browse the internet safe in the knowledge that you're not being tracked. Plus, you can use the net like you're in a different country, meaning you can access content that isn't available where you are. I'm a British guy living in Germany, and I use this all the time to keep up with what my friends are watching back home. NordVPN's threat protection feature also keeps you safe from scammers. It'll identify malicious links before you click on them and wheedle out dodgy-looking files before you download them. What's more, its dark web monitor can alert you if your data ever turns up on any fiendlich websites, unfriendly websites. So secure yourself online with NordVPN. Viewers of this video can get the 2-year plan with an extra 4 months for free by going to nordvpn.com/robwordsvpn or clicking my link in this video's description. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you can, just try it, be modecrafty, give it a go. Modecrafty means smart. Okay, this next one is a word for which we definitely already have some alternatives, But I think we should bring it back because it's so much better than anything that we're using now. You see, Old English formed on an island. It is the product of a mix of dialects spoken by Germanic tribes who'd come across the sea. And they had an epic word for the waters they crossed. They called the sea the whaleway. The word appears in an Old English poem called The Seafarer, although it's actually a bit of a controversial one because some versions have it written slightly differently in a way that would actually mean death road, WHWEG. But let's give the whales the benefit of the doubt because the Anglo-Saxons seem to have been mildly obsessed with them. For example, the Old English word for a walrus was a horsewhal, a horse whale. Plus bringing back whaleways would mean we could start calling ports whaleway stations and fishing nets whaleway lines. And I really, really want that. You can also translate the word as whale road too, so American viewers can also have their fun with the puns. Another tempting Old English word for the ocean was WIREOLDWATER, the world water. Pretty cool, but not better than whaleway. I also like the way that whaleway defers to the deep's natural inhabitants. It's an easy 4 out of 5 for me. We're staying on dry land for this next one, firmly on dry land, because next I want us to bring back EARDFÄST. A modern way to say this would be earthfast, and it's fast meaning firm or fixed, like in our word steadfast or in hardenfast, or also in the word fasten. And earthfast meant to be firmly in the ground, both in a literal and a figurative sense. Literally, you could describe a rock that's become stuck in the soil as earthfast, but if you're feeling like you've firmly established yourself somewhere or you've made yourself at home, you could describe yourself as earthfast. It's like settled. The idea of fastness crops up a lot in Old English. Someone who was tight with their money, for example, was fasthavel, a sort of fast haver. A well-protected area was a fastland, and someone who was firm of mind or who was resolute was fastrad. This word earthfast stuck around for a while. It lingered in certain Scottish and Northern English dialects, usually to specifically describe a boulder sticking out of the ground. But if we're to start using earthfast, I say we use it in its more emotive sense, that of feeling grounded or settled. Just a 2 out of 5 for bring back ability for earthfast because there are alternative words, but none of them create such a vivid picture for me. Now, once you've got yourself nice and settled, nice and earthfast, what are you going to do next? Perhaps pop down the local pub? There's just a special pleasure that comes with drinking with friends, isn't there? I don't know how to describe it, but the Anglo-Saxons did, and they called it MEDUDREAM, literally mead joy. The word crops up in Beowulf, where it refers to rejoicing with mead. Mead is the lovely, sweet, fermented honey drink that was the booze of choice of our forebears. If you've never tried it, you should. It is delicious. Go watch one of Max Miller from Tasting History's videos on how to make it. In fact, watch all of his videos. They're great. Anyway, the Anglo-Saxons appreciated the special contentedness that came with sitting in a mead hall, perhaps astride a mead bench or in their favourite mead seat, and they'd call it mead joy. Or perhaps meadglee. Yes, I like that more. I like the assonance, the repeated vowel sound. The second part of the word is a bit of an unusual one, actually. It's possibly what eventually becomes our word dream. It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? But possibly not. It's still a bit of a leap from that meaning of joy to things you see in your sleep. But anyway, it pops up in lots of places in Old English. For example, in this word, which means taking joy in your own country. It's a sort of patriotism. It also had a second meaning, which was music. Music being an instrument of joy itself. For example, a skilled musician was said to possess dreamkraft. And another glorious Old English word is this one, which means music glee, and describes the pleasure derived from listening to music. Gorgeous. We should definitely bring that one back too. But I'm sticking with MEDUDREAM, mead glee, and giving it a bring back ability score of 3. I could have gone higher, but I worry that being able to easily describe how great it is might inadvertently encourage us to drink too much booze. Now, a little overindulgence on the alcohol can wreak havoc down below, and that's where we're heading with our next word. It is AERSLING, which means backwards. You know how you can go headlong into something? Well, AERSLING is the opposite. It is arselong, i.e. in the direction of your bottom. And that bit at the start does indeed become our word arse. And just FYI, in the 17th century the word ass appears because of a fashion for dropping R sounds in some dialects. The same period produces bust as a variation on burst and cuss as a variation on curse. Anyway, back to Anglo-Saxon arses. Your bumhole was your ersgang, a gang being like a passage. Your bum, buttocks and all, could be your ersende. And this unfortunate tree, and its even more unfortunate looking fruit, was known to the Anglo-Saxons as an open ers, open arse. I can't for the life of me work out why. Anyway, I want us to bring back ersling or arselong as an alternative to backwards. I think it has a bit more urgency to it, like headlong is a little hastier than forward. But because we do already have an alternative, arselong is getting just a 3 out of 5 for me. Still better than a smack on the arse. Right, let's move forward onto our next word, which is probably my favourite because it just speaks to me, and I bet it'll speak to you too, because we've all struggled to sleep at one time or another. Our next extinct Old English word that I think we should wake from its eternal sleep is UHTCEARE. It's literally dawn care or dawn sorrow. And it describes that sensation when you're lying in bed before the sun comes up and all your worries seem to come to the surface. Isn't that word relatable? If you've never felt dawn sorrow, lucky you. Or perhaps we could invoke an old word for the morning and call it morrowsorrow. Yeah, I like that. The word appears in the Old English poem The Wife's Lament, where a woman describes lying in bed wondering where her husband is. He was exiled across the sea and she went with him, but they've become separated. This is bleak Anglo-Saxon verse at its most depressing. She also speaks of sinsorg, an everlasting sorrow. Sorg is actually very much like the German and Dutch words for worry or care today. Anyway, we're talking about dawn care or dawn sorrow, and Old English had all kinds of words for dawn activity. It had, for example, a specific word for a noisy din made early in the morning. It's used to describe the sound of the battle between Beowulf and Grendel. It also had a word for a thief who struck at night. Plus, there's this epic word for a dragon that flies in the twilight, the Uchtfloga. Pretty cool. But I want us to bring back UHTCEARE because you never know, being able to describe this specific type of anxiety might even help us to deal with it. I think the idea that people have been feeling this dawn dread for at least a millennium is sort of comforting. It's satisfying to say we don't have an alternative and it has the potential to make us feel better. That's why UHTCEARE is getting 5 out of 5 for bring back ability. To my mind, that last word really is the whole package. And in fact, Old English had an elegant word for something that was complete to the point of perfection. Fullthungen. It quite literally means fully developed, fully grown, or at its full potential. And I think it is the perfect word with which to round off this list of 10 Old English words that I think we should use to fill in the gaps of modern English. Although let's face it, we have covered far more than 10. If this video's left you feeling fullthungen, then I reckon you'll like this one next. And also you should check out my free newsletter. It's full of word facts and language fun. Plus I have a Patreon where there's lots of other wordy stuff that no one else gets to see. Check it out. And I'll catch you in the next thing. Cheerio!